Okay, welcome back to something I'm kind of looking forward to, kind of not looking forward to. Having looked at the engine the last time on this donor Freelander 2, having realised it is completely shafted, we do need to either take it out and replace it or take it out and repair it, one of those two options. However, ultimately we've got to take the engine out. Now, I thought, have I done this before? No, I haven't. Can I do it? I actually don't know. But I thought that's kind of the point of this YouTube channel, is to kind of do things that you haven't done before and give it a try. So myself and my two boys today, who are here in the workshop, we are going to try and remove this 2.2 diesel engine out of the Freelander. I don't really know what else to tell you other than that. Wish us luck, and we'll kind of show you what we're doing as we do it. So full disclosure, although the bottom end is knackered anyway, I kind of thought, oh, can I rebuild it from the bottom like I've seen other YouTubers do? And yeah, I can't, because I made a bit of a boo-boo in the last episode that I didn't put on the video. So when I took the engine cover off, the top cover off, you may see, oops, the car's moving, you may see something that shouldn't be there. I had the top covered up with rags, and then when I was moving the car outside, I accidentally pressed the start button, and there's what's left of a rag in amongst the timing gear. So I definitely need to take the engine out and strip it. Probably time to do a belt anyway. I think we're on 77,000 miles on this car, something like that for a timing belt. So it's time to do a belt anyway. That's my excuse. So yeah, don't leave rags on top of the engine when you start the engine. I didn't mean to start the engine, it was an accident. So yeah, anyway. So let's make a move on getting this out. Right, I've got the Haynes manual. I've also got the equivalent of Rave for the Freelander 2. There's a download somewhere I found, which is all the Land Rover workshop documentation about stripping the engine in and building it back up again. I couldn't seem to find any procedure for actually removing the engine. However, there are a couple of YouTube videos. I did look under LR2. So in the US, these are called the LR2, not the Freelander. I did look for that, and there's a couple of LR2 engine removals. One is the 3.2 petrol, which doesn't help, and the other one is a 2.2 diesel being removed by some very helpful chaps in India. But the video is so bad I can't actually see what they're doing. It looks like, it looks like you take four bolts off the subframe, the bottom, and the engine just comes out. So I mean, that would be amazing if it did that. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the case. So we're going to need to do some obvious things. Wiring obviously is one, fuel is another. Now fuel is already disconnected anyway, so that makes life a bit easier. And then underneath, what we're going to try and do, this is a real kind of like stab in the dark with this one. Most of the time you'd lift this up on a 4-post or 2-poster and you drop the engine out from underneath like onto a pallet. Now I don't have a 2-poster, I've got a scissor lift. And what I'd like to do, I really don't want to have to hoik this out of here. Now you can put the bonnet into full upright position by taking the 2 dampers off and just securing it in place. So you can, in theory, lift this out. I'm sure this probably front clip would come right off. My God, I don't really want to do that. That is not something I really want to do. That with a gearbox is going to be a mission. So my plan is to get this up onto the scissor lift. So it lifts under the jacking points, get the wheels off the car and get to a position where I know what I need to take off underneath. Now, in a video that I haven't published yet, I actually have removed the DPF from this. So there's the exhaust system, the exhaust manifold goes down to the cat. The cat is still attached, but that's it. So we can drop it down as far as the exhaust goes already. What we should be left with is the 4 subframe bolts, and we should be able to drop the engine down with the suspension work, not the shocks. The shocks stay in place. You literally knock out the bottom of the shock absorbers out of the hub assemblies, and then you should be able to lift the car up off the engine. Now, I've not seen anyone do that on a scissor lift before. So I'm going to try and have a bit of a look, a bit of a measure up, see whether or not the lift is too wide underneath to be able to like drop the engine through it. I genuinely don't know if this is going to work. Otherwise, we're going to have to hoik it out the top. But either way, the engine's got to come out. So I'm going to look underneath first. Okay, I'm reasonably confident that we can get this off using the scissor lift. I may get it back down again and move it forward slightly. But what we're looking at here is it's going to come off the car. Let's have a look if I can try and... So this subframe will come off. Oops. So there's that bolt there, and then likewise that bolt there. That takes it off. In fact, you could take those two off there and leave this on here probably. And basically what we're trying to do is get this subframe down. Now there's plenty of room here to go past these ramps. So with the wheels off, I think that should be doable. What we've got to try and work out is what can I put this on? It's quite flat actually, there's nothing in the way. It's very useful. So if I get like a pallet or something underneath here and get this all kind of like as much off as I possibly can and then work from the top, I should be able to get the engine down onto a pallet. That's what I'm thinking. I think it is feasible to do that on a scissor lift. So, fingers crossed. Right, first things first, wheels off. Okay, so the general plan is to leave the shocks on there. Okay, so if I can leave the shocks on there, I could probably leave a few other bits hanging from the shocks. Now, the one thing that strikes me was that if I could get the caliper off and literally bungee that to the shock, that's another thing I don't have to undo the braking system. I can leave that intact. The ABS sensor is plugged in up here. So the ABS sensor would need to be undone from the back here, and that needs to stay on the subframe I'm taking off. And then I just need to undo that one bolt. I stuck some penetrant on that, undo that one bolt and knock this shock out of the carrier. So, I mean, it looks dreadful. So I don't know how easy that's going to be. And then what will be left is the shock hanging there with the caliper hanging up in the top, so the braking system's completely intact. It's just one less thing to worry about. So that's what I'm going to do both sides. Get those calipers off. Leave all this intact. I don't actually know how good these shocks are. It may very well be that actually when it comes to it, before I put this in, before I actually put the engine back in, if I ever put the engine back in, if this ever goes back together again, ever, I will probably take the shocks out, inspect those. There's no leaking, they're not damp or anything, but it's probably worth doing the shocks. By the end of this, I'm going to end up keeping this car. I can see it happening. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan. We leave the shock absorbers in place with the calipers and try and work out anything else. So we'll take the drop links off, actually. They will stay with the subframe. These drop links here. So again, I can remove them from here, it's easier. So I'll bend them back, they can stay with the subframe. So yeah, that's okay. So seems to make sense so far. Let's keep going with taking things off. Okay, we're making some progress. It's slow but steady. Right, we've got the calipers and the carriers. I just took them off in one. I literally took it off at the carrier. I kept it all in one piece because it's a hell of a lot easier than taking that off. So the carriers and the calipers are tied up out the way. Flexes are all pulled off anywhere that are attached to this lower subframe. In fact, actually, that's attached to the shock anyways. It doesn't really matter. Although it's best to take that off because you don't bend these too much. The ABS sensors have been taken off from down here. They kind of unclip as they go around. The drop link, this one, the bolt, basically the nut, like the 5mm hex on it, rounded out. I just couldn't get it off, and I was spending way too much time trying to drill it out and all that kind of stuff. My drill bits are crap. So I'll just cut it, and I'll deal with it. I need to get some new drop links anyway when I go to put the car back together. So from down here's perspective, there is nothing left that's attached other than the shock into this lower hub assembly. So once that is undone, I've got to get these two big nuts, I think like 17mm nuts undone. I have no idea whether they're going to come undone. And then what it looks like to me is that the 4 subframe bolts, there's one here, and then there's one, if you can see under here, and that will take the subframe off. I can't see anything else holding the subframe on. So because the exhaust is already taken off, I've got to take the drive shaft out actually. There's just a bunch of the E-bits, I think, to take those out. So I'll take the drive shaft out. So that's not connected. I will do a double check under everything anyway, but that looks like that's about it because I've already done the DPF. So once I've done the drive shaft, I'm going to loosen these all off to make sure I can actually get them off. And then I'm going to go topside, drop the car back down. I'll take the rear wheels off as well, drop it right down as low as it will go without damaging like these brake disc plates. That's going to be the lowest point to keep it really, really low. Take everything off from the top side, all the electronics, or the electrics. Most of the fuel is already off, but I'll disconnect any fuel, any air, all that kind of stuff. And then we need to kind of work out where we're going to slide a pallet underneath, and then see what we can do. I might try and utilise the gearbox jack somehow. I'm sure we can work out a way of using that in some inventive way. And then we can drop the car down. I should be able to get to there quite easily. I should be able to get to, even if this was up to about there, I can still get to that to undo it if I've loosened it off. Which means I should be able to loosen the whole of the subframe off whilst it's kind of low down to the floor. Then we should be able to jack the rest of the car back up over the engine. I've got no idea if this is going to work. It does in theory work. There's space for it, so it should be able to. I've been told by multiple forums and multiple people that that is not what scissor lifts are for, but you know, seems to be working to me. So I'm going to, what was the next thing I need to do? Drive shaft, loosen these off, then bring the car down. So I'm going to do the drive shaft now. You know when you start doing one thing and you think, I've got to do that afterwards as well. Just taking off the drive shaft. Hang on, can you see that? I'll try and get you in there a little bit. There you go, look. I don't think it's supposed to move like that. Anyways, let's get that off and we can address that later. Right, so I've made a bit of progress today. It doesn't feel like I've made loads of progress, but I'm getting there. So these, the locking bolts at the bottom of the dampers are off, and these are knocked down as far as they'll go with the flex on the drive shaft at the moment. But as the subframe actually comes down, these will actually just pop out the top. Drop links are removed, so everything from a drivetrain perspective is now is part of the subframe that I want to be part of the subframe. The rest will remain there. All that will need to be taken off each side is this small supporting panel here, as that comes underneath this. So I've just stuck some penetrant in that and leave that for a while. So this will be coming off, same the other side. This main subframe bolt, and then from underneath, you've got something very similar where this bolt is the one we want to undo, but actually this panel here will prevent the subframe from coming out. So it's just those two. Oh, you just see them back there. These two bolts will also need to come off each side. So the drive shaft is now out of that knackered diff, and the coolant has been emptied as well into various buckets, and the floor. The bumper is off, as you may notice. I'm not sure whether it's necessary, but to be honest, it just made life a bit easier getting into the top of the engine, which I'll show you in just a second. So I've drained the washer fluid, drained the coolant, and both sides are basically ready now to come down onto the subframe. So let's lower the car down. I'll show you what I've done on top. It looks much the same. The engine pack of electronics has been disconnected from the ECU, so everything's disconnected from here. Running around this side, the battery box has been taken out. We had a seized bolt here, which is great, so I had to drill that one out. So this whole battery box, battery tray has come out. The gear selector has been removed from down on the gearbox here, so that is off as well. Like I said, the coolant hoses, the top and bottom coolant hoses are now both off the car. So they're the main ones that actually come off, actually into the car itself, and the water pump and whatnot, and actually cooling the car itself. There are some minor ones as well I've noticed that I have disconnected. There was one that actually goes in here, small sensor, this one here. So I think that's probably a pressure sensor or temperature sensor or something along those lines, or maybe a return of some kind. It sits at the top of the rad, so it may be an expansion one. In fact, it goes all the way to here, so it's an expansion pipe basically, so that's fine. So that's come out, and there's obviously no coolant left in the coolant reservoir. From the front of the engine, I think I've done most things. The fuel lines are off the filter. Everything from this side onwards stays on the car. These run down the side of the engine, and as I remove the engine, they'll pop off the bottom of the subframe as well, and these will remain literally on the side of the car. That's the plan. So the two questions I've got, actually there's probably dozens of questions, but the one main question I've got is about air conditioning. So obviously all the AC pipes are back here. However, there is an AC pump, and that comes back down underneath the alternator, I believe. So the power steering one runs to here. This is the power steering pump, then the alternator, and I believe the AC pump is down at the bottom. So looking down here, I believe it's that one right at the bottom here. So it's next to, yeah, underneath the alternator at the bottom. So I'm going to remove the aux belt, and ideally, I think I'd like to take the pump off the car with the lines attached, and then leave that kind of hanging out the way as I remove the engine out of the way. That means I don't have to disconnect the AC or get it ungassed, because it is blowing cold. Annoyingly, when I got the car, the AC did work. So yeah, that's not, annoyingly, I'd prefer it wasn't. So I think that's the best bet. I think at this stage, I'd like to ask for some advice, really. It's the first time that I have removed an engine, and I think I'm doing everything right as far as I can see. Everything I can see needs to be disconnected is connected. I've literally run through from braking, fuel, air, coolant, steering, electronics, everything, all that kind of stuff, trying to work around all those different sort of avenues to make sure I've actually removed everything, and I think I've done most things. So I'd really appreciate if anybody's got any advice taking this out, because literally I'm going to build myself a little pallet truck thing. I've bought some little, some casters, and I've got some chipboard I'm put together to basically make a really low profile pallet, which will sit underneath the engine, drop it on the weight onto it, undo the subframe bolts, lift the car back over the top of it. That's my plan. But if anybody's got any advice, I would be very, very grateful. If there's something you've done before yourself, or you are a mechanic, engine remover, you've taken out a Freelander engine, whatever it might be, any advice would be really gratefully received. I am going to try and separate the subframe from the engine. I was looking on a forum and found that somebody said best thing to do is to do the subframe first, and then hook the engine crane up to the engine, and then basically lower the engine down afterwards, which does make a bit more sense. I'm not having to manhandle such a massive thing. The issue is, like with most things, everything is so rusty, it's difficult to kind of break apart. So the subframe obviously will be attached to the hub and the drive shaft. So the drive shaft needs to come out the diff. Now I can't get that bloody drive shaft out the diff. I've done as much as I can. As you can see, I've actually cracked a bit of the fins on the block there, which I'm not particularly happy about, but you know, is what it is. It's not actually cracked the casing itself. The shocks are down as far as they'll go. There's now not enough leverage on here to get this down any further to get the hub assembly off of the shock. So that, I'm assuming, will come out. It is actually loose there. It's literally holding on by about a centimetre. Same both sides. So I've removed the engine, the lower engine bolt, which goes basically there, onto the subframe hanger, so that to the engine mount down here. There's like a rubber hanger. So that's been removed. So basically the subframe is now disconnected from the engine from beneath. I've also taken off these front bolts for these little brackets here, both sides. The other side, unfortunately, the bolt snapped off, so it's another exciting thing I get to do later on. So that is ready to go, and I've now just gone around and cracked these 21mm sockets off. I think they're 21. They were bloody tight, I tell you that much. Yeah, 21s. The ones at the back were really, really tight. So I'm glad I did that now and not while I'm stranded underneath the car trying to do stuff. So they're cracked off, ready to come out. And the two little bolts that are holding the brackets on the back there as well, they're also out on each side. So as far as that, there are going to be a few things like hoses that I haven't done just yet. But we're going to basically work out what stays with the engine, what can come out with the subframe. So I've just got to flip and do it. So wish me luck. I'm going to hang you up on a tripod, and let's just see what happens. Right. I'm doing my best here. I've kind of made a table out of the gearbox stand, basically some pieces of timber underneath there, the cut off from my workbench, and then a pad to kind of absorb any metal bits that are sticking out. That's quite sturdy actually, and I've got it up almost as high as it goes. So I'm now going to lower the car down so that the subframe is nearly resting on that really. The idea being is that when I've got it close, I'll then use this to wind up to it, so I'm not ending up putting too much strain on this gearbox stand. Like that. Right, that's in, ready to go. So I'm now going to get that as close as I can. It should touch the back here, and it should touch the front here. It should be okay, and it is about as central as I can get it. Wish me luck. Steering hoses, fuel lines are completely loose. I think the steering rack is off. Steering column, sorry. Yep, column is off. Okay, so it appears the only thing I've got to take off is the power steering hoses. Okay. So this is where we stand at the moment. We've got, everything is pretty much off. What I've got to get off is this top hose here. This is the one that's causing the problem. And there's obviously a return hose as well. These fuel hoses are off, they're fine. And I've got to get, there's the bottom of this hose here. I don't think you can quite see it, but there is a Torx bit underneath that, which I think is probably like a T35 or something like that. And then I can remove this top hose. With that top hose coming off, I'm going to have power steering fluid everywhere. So I've got to cover the alternator up, which is a brand new alternator. And then I'll probably take that return off as well. This return hose off as well, take them both off. So let me do those first and let's see where we go from there. Bear with me. All right, I think I've got most of the lines sorted now in some kind of capacity. So we're losing fluid, which is good. Kind of what we want to see, I suppose. Let's just see how it lasts now. Quick look at the lines. That's okay, that's just losing fluid there. There's annoyingly like a P-clip right in the way, which just makes no flipping sense as to why it's there. But either way, I think that's going to be sacrificed. Because as P-clips go, I'm not particularly fussed about losing one. That loom is off, that is off. I think I'm going to carry on. What I need to try and do is get this bloody drive shaft out. Ouch. Because it does not want to come out. Let's get the bottom of that shock off. I've not got to press the drive shaft out, otherwise I'll just leave the drive shafts hanging in the engine. Give it a bit of a boot and see whether they come out with a bit of a clout. I don't know, might. Oh, hang on. That one might come out. Hang on. We might be onto something here. Yeah, he's out. Right. There we go. Well, that was a lot bloody easier than trying to remove the drive shaft. I think in just a moment you're going to see the subframe come off, but we'll see. Still got one hose. Hang on, what's that one? Hang on. Oh, that's the steering column. So that is off. That is off. That is off. I think we're okay, ladies and gents. We've got quite a lot of fluid all over the floor, but I think we're going to be okay. There we go. Good grief. I need a coffee. Then we can look at doing these wishbones. I think I saw quite a lot of crappy bushes, and I think while we're in here, we'll redo all of this. Clean all this up. Make it nice and new. Right. Bit of a move around and a clean up, and a bit of a regroup. Bear with me. Trying to do here, which doesn't make a great deal of sense. It's a bit of procrastination, certainly on some part, but I'm trying to reduce the weight of the subframe down so I can actually move it around myself. Also, then I can clean up the subframe as a bare piece, give it a good old clean, any hammerite, prep it for any rust repair, all that kind of stuff. A ton of this stuff needs to be replaced anyway, so the main hub assemblies I'll keep. One of the wheel bearings is gone, which means the other one's probably gone as well, so I'll change those. Both low ball joints have gone. Both track rod ends have gone. So this car's been properly abused, let's say. So it makes sense to kind of get all this stuff off anyway and literally just rebuild it. So fingers crossed it doesn't throw up any other nasty surprises. It is a Cat S anyway, and I still can't find Cat S repair. So I don't know whether it went back to manufacturer or something like that. I really don't know. But for the time being, I'm trying to get the steering rack off, so that's 4 bolts from underneath now, which I can get to, and then obviously get the wishbones off, or the control arms off, with the hub assemblies attached still. I will then basically try and get those, I have no idea how to get those nuts off the control arm ball joints. I mean, you can't get a socket to it, you can't get a ratchet gun to it, or can't get a gun to it. I'm losing my words today. Yeah, so I should be able to get this down to bare metal, but down to a bare component, and then be able to at least move it around and then clean it up, all that kind of stuff. So that is what I'm doing now. So I think I'm going to try to get the steering rack off next, which does seem to be in good shape. There's no issues with that one. There's no play in the inner tie rods. The outer ones don't even seem that bad, but I might replace those anyway as it's all stripped down. There's no movement in those. That was a bit loose actually, so that track wheel I'm ready to go. So in the meantime, let's get this off, and yeah, let's strip it down a bit more. Steering rack. Trying to spill steering juice everywhere. one lower control arm out, and hub assembly and bearing. So the only thing we're actually going to want out of that is the hub assembly. There we go, second hub assembly off. That leaves very little left on this. There is a exhaust mounting bracket here, and it holds the loom as well for the DPF. That can come off, doesn't weigh much, but it can come off with the guys cleaning it and spraying it and all that kind of jazz. That is the subframe, completely stripped of all its component parts. There's a front panel, like a plastic panel, steering rack, the engine mount, anti-roll bar, exhaust clamp bracket, that's about it. Then obviously the hub assemblies as well. So I'm going to take that outside now, give it a good old scrub, degrease it, and then prep that for any paint it needs. Looking at the subframe bushes, they all look pretty good. You know, it's one of those things where I always think, oh, do I do it now? I've got the opportunity, but to be fair, they look absolutely fine. They're still soft rubber. There's no cracking that I can see in any of there. I have checked it. So, you know, I just don't think it's worth the effort of going through that. So I'm not going to bother changing the subframe bushes. But so I'm just going to get that ready and prepped up, clean out all the threads and make sure it's nice and ready to go back together again when I eventually do that bit, which seems a long way in the future. Being the procrastinator that I am, I decided to strip the subframe down completely, and now I'm going to give it some paint. So killed off all the rust with an angle grinder, just isopropyl alcoholed it, and let's give it some paint. Much better. Morning, and back at it. I've taken a couple of days off work to do this, hence why a bit of continuity, which is great. So yesterday I stripped, degreased and hammerited the subframe. It's all in good condition. There's no rusting of any importance going through it. So that is actually pretty good. And now kind of ready to go when I decide I want to start building the front end back up again. So that's good. What I'm going to do today is go through. Firstly, I'm going to clean up that steering rack because I'm going to take those old tie rods off, I think, or at least loosen them up so they're ready to come off. Clean up the rack. I think the boots, was it those boots that felt really, no, it was the drive shaft boots that felt really plasticky. But I'm going to clean that all up, degrease it, take that outside. I'm going to have like degreasing sessions outside and then come back in and doing bits on the car. It's a bit more interesting than just sitting there doing degreasing all the time. So once that's all gone, that with the steering rack gone, I'll also do the anti-roll bar as well. And if I have the opportunity, I'm going to try and remove these lower ball joint nuts, and remove these off the hub assemblies. Now the wishbones, I can get a pair of wishbones with all the bushes, all that kind of stuff for 90 quid. So that is fine. That comes with a ball joint. Comes with all the bushes, all that kind of stuff. So that would leave me with the hub assemblies. And the other things I need to do is that one wheel bearing was a bit grumbly. I noticed when I span it, so I think it was on the driver's side from what I remember. So I'm going to get both of those pushed out and new bearings put in. And I'm also going to replace, well, I'm going to have a look, but I'm going to probably replace these backing plates, because they are just so shot. They're like the Range Rover. So I'm going to replace those as well. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This isn't the actual engine repair. You're chucking tons of money on a car that hasn't got a working engine. Yep, you're right. But either way, it's either going to have a replacement engine going in, or I'm going to fix this engine. It will eventually have an engine. And bearing in mind, I spent £400 on the car, spending, what, 200-300 quid on bits and pieces isn't really going to ruin the project or the budget for what I'm going to end up either selling it for or keeping it as a decent car. It does have a broken front passenger side spring, a front left spring, and it does have a rear passenger side, rear left shock leaking as well. So I can get a whole new set of shocks and springs for less than 300 quid. Parts on this car are pretty cheap, so I'm going to do that as well. So that's 300 quid. So we're looking at about what I've spec'd up there about £500 worth of stuff, I think, something like that. But that's including springs and stuff. That's pretty decent stuff. So yeah, so I'm going to carry on cleaning and stripping down today and get to a point where I can get the air conditioning pump off. Possibly, yeah, no, that was it. So leave that hanging, and then I should be able to get the engine off and do basically the same thing again. So on top of the gearbox mount on my little platform, and then drop the engine down and wheel it around. So let's crack on. Right. I think we're there. So that is everything removed from the engine, and to tell you that it was a lot would be a massive, massive understatement. It's kind of like one step forward, two steps back every time. I've had to take quite a lot of stuff off. So running down here, you can obviously see a lot more of the engine now. The power steering pump came off. The AC pump is removed from the engine itself, but just hanging on a belt. So that's ready to come off. So I've left the AC system intact. All the wiring loom is now off the car. It's hanging down here and goes over to the actual rad, but that's obviously disconnected, and this will just stay here as the engine drops out below. All the coolant hoses are off. Everything's off from the back. There literally is just tons. You have to work your way around the whole engine very, very carefully, bit by bit. And I think I'm actually at the point now where the only thing connecting this engine to this car are these engine mounts. So I'm reasonably certain that those 5 bolts and those 2 there, or whether I take that one off there and that one off underneath there, I'm not quite sure which ones you actually take off. It might be those 2 down there, in fact, actually, or 2 or 3 down there, but that third one I think is just a bracket. But those 2 big ones I think might be what I need to take off. We'll see. But that really is the engine taken off. So I've been at this almost 3 days straight. It is a huge amount of work. It is not a small DIY job. I'm sure there are those of you out there who've done engine removals before and say, no, it's easy. But I've been working on and off on cars and motorbikes and stuff since I was about 11. And this is a really tough challenge. It's difficult to get to places. You have to be quite imaginative as to how you're going to get to things and use tools and extensions, and it is a big job. It is a big job. There's no getting around it. Anyway, so enough of me whinging. Let's get you on a tripod and let's see which of these engine mounts I need to take off for the engine to actually be dropped down. God, wish me luck. I'm now going to slacken off the engine mounts I've got here. So the 3 this side and the 5 this side, and see whether the engine actually starts to move down. If it does, it's great, and I'll use the table to lower the engine down carefully. And then if I need more height, which I probably will, I then lift the car out the way. Side. Why is it hanging on that side? Is there another bolt there I haven't seen? I think the 2 bolts at the top actually go all the way through as well, so I have to undo those as well. Just did a very quick bit of research. I do indeed need to remove this plate here, this plate at the top of these 4 nuts, 2 there, 2 there. That needs to come up, and it gives me access to the 2 big bolts underneath. That's what disconnects it, so I'll quickly do that. Right, that plate is removed. Back to it. So now let's get those 2. Right, yeah, that should be that one then. So that should be it now. Get that one off. Sorry, I'm sure this is an incredibly stimulating video, but I'll cut out the bits where I'm nervously standing there staring at something. Right, it appears both sides of the engine are coming down. I think I'm going to get my crane on that as well at the same time and lower it down with the crane with straps. So, small musical interlude, and then we'll be back at it. It's safe than sorry, isn't it? And I'm glad I was actually. So, set the engine hoist back up, engine hoist up, sorry. Taking up the slack now of the engine so I can rearrange this bottom lift. Get it down actually, so I'm not having to wind it down. I'm gonna get down as low as it possibly goes, and then I'm gonna lower the engine, using the engine hoist down onto it. That's kind of my plan. So I just need to get this wound down now. I've done with all the bits. Have I? I haven't done a bloody intercooler, hang on. Gotcha, there we go. Is oil return. It shouldn't be too much because I have drained the engine quite a lot. There we go. Let's see whether that was the only hang up. Well, that's promising. Woohoo. Okay, let's just double check from on top. Well, there's definitely a gap where an engine used to be. Looks good. Nothing from the back. What's that one there? That's not attached, that's fine. I think we're going to be okay. I think I'm going to lower it onto the floor and then work out a way of moving it once I've got the car out of the way. I think that's what I'm going to do. Bump it up the floor like that. That might or might not work. There we go. The engine is out of the car. My God, if there was ever a point to leave a video, that is it. I'm sure I made a complete meal out of that, but that was really difficult. I've never done that before. So this is where the hard work begins, trying to maneuver everything around and actually fix the engine, but it's out. So man, if you stuck with me this long, thank you so much. You've got probably more patience than I have. Stick around, please subscribe, because I'm not going to give up on this, and you'll see me fix it, get it back on the road, or scrap it for parts, one of those two. But either way, subscribe, give me a like, it does help, and I'll see you again in the next video. Done. 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 I am done.